Hey. So, well, I noticed something right when the Super Bowl ended, that the movie sort of shifted. Now, technically everybody remembers the movie Joker that just came out, right? With Joaquin Phoenix. Right? Now everybody remembers the big thing about Tom Cruise and Jerry Maguire about Cuba Gooding Jr. saying it's all about the Quan. And then Tom Cruise goes, yeah, are you gonna get dressed? No, man, I air dry. It's all about the Quan. It's like, great word. So really, it was kind of rude because Tom Cruise was a Cardinals agent at the time for this nigger. Now, kind of got a little bit worse because Tom Cruise was like, please come in my asshole. He's just like, that's not good enough. I want you to like it. I want to believe you. Please come in my asshole. He goes, congratulations, you just got yourself a Cardinal football player. So, you know, instead of apologizing, the Hollywood industry sort of advanced upon that. And, well, there's this really weird movie, without apologizing at all, there's this movie called, like, In the Cold Light of Day with Bruce Willis and, like, well, Superman. It's the movie that he did before any of the other movies that made him famous, like Superman, for instance. You should see it because he has this awesome action scene where he's like the man, like running and really good build. He's younger, and he has this enormously like awesome action scene where it's just like, this guy's awesome. When did this movie get made? Doesn't matter, because his girlfriend sells him out right when he gets to where it is that he's going. She's like, no, 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 you can't come in here. You can't come in here. He's like, you're a medic. And she goes, like, I'm a veterinarian. I need your help. I got shot in my ass. Well, she ends up finally just allowing him to stay. And there's just this random pitch black nigger, overweight and bald, that nobody knows why he would be hanging around with this group. But I mean, if you ask Jerry Maguire or Tom Cruise, he would know. Because there's this moment where, you know, he could die because he keeps on bleeding out, but there's no blood. His blood, apparently, I mean, the woman keeps on saying, we need to help him or he's going to bleed out and die. He's all like, still no blood. Well, lucky for him, the next girl that was helping said, there's no bullet. So we're just going to have to seal the wound. So he was bleeding out with no bullet. But this is all very, very, very lucky, especially if you're a Quan fan, because that pitch black nigger, well, he's just, you know, front row ticket to like watching him scream because the girl puts and lights a torch and really heats up this spoon and lays it on his butt cheek. And he goes, oh! Here's the nigger, bent over just like this, not bent at the knees at all, and like, just to tell everyone that was a Tom Cruise fan, and every prostitute that laughed at Tom Cruise, we got the second one. He likes it just as much as Tom did. It was really weird. I mean, it was really sort of like, sort of out of place, considering, you know, how things were 5 minutes ago with him, like, running and shit. Now there's just this random black nigger. So it's kind of odd. I mean, it seems like they're really obsessed. Now, with the Joker movie that just came out, it's just a little weird because the woman that played the, like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Margot Robbie, they go ahead and, you know, there's Joaquin Phoenix, right? So, like, the master of all Quan, Joaquin Phoenix, the Quan King Phoenix. It's really sort of aiming how Tom Cruise is apparently a bad guy. Yeah, and he's just laughing belligerently. He's not funny. He thinks he's a comic. Well, Margot Robbie was offered a role at the, you know, Blonde Bombshell or whatever that just came out, you know, with Charlize Theron, you know, and apparently it was a really, really, really good movie. And it cleaned her up just long enough to play the Joker's girlfriend in the newest movie, Birds of Prey. Now, she's blonde and very, very, very rambunctious, but, you know, it's interesting how they don't apologize. Like, for all the kids out there, that Joaquin Phoenix is doing what he does, and then they just start acting out in their households. And the parents are just like, what has gotten into you? I'm the Joker, blah, blah, blah. Slobbering fake blood all over the place with the mom yelling, that ketchup stains, I didn't know, Mommy. You know, no apology, just sort of building towards something. So you got Tom Cruise as the Joker, a bad guy, a villain. They've already killed Superman the boy because they have the movie Brightburn where he's just a kid Superman, and apparently the nicest girl in the whole world that was nice to him, he likes to reward people being nice by sacrificing the mom late in the movie next to his spaceship, by pinning her on the wall and shit. So there is no Superman, there is a Joaquin Phoenix, and there is a blonde daughter. And, you know, sometimes when you're like, for instance, watching the movie Frozen 2, and you're at your brother Greg's house, and you got his two daughters, Gwen and Rachel, and you're watching the movie when you're in Boise, Idaho, and you're just like, that looks like Gwen and Rachel. And then you see the guy that looks like my brother Greg. That looks like Greg. And then you leave there and then you go and watch like the movies that are just being released like right now. Like, for instance, Fantasy Island. That looks like Julie Farnsworth. That looks like Emily Sharp. You know, I have a big, big backstory about how I had girlfriends from elementary school named Emily Sharp and Julie Farnsworth. Just like, and then you got a movie coming out pretty soon called The Invisible Man. That looks like Tara Brinkerhoff. So you got Curtis as the Joker as a villain, Cora as the Joker's daughter, Birds of Prey, or girlfriend. And then you got all of Curtis's girlfriends in all of these movies coming out. You guys know that I wrote a Corona commercial like in 2012, right? Just one. It goes as follows. In the midst of a blizzard, high in the sky looking down, you could barely see the tops of the trees, but lowering down into the blizzard, you notice that there's a man walking. He's dressed heavily in blue, a blue dense winter coat, and he's trudging through this winter storm confidently but very, very cold. As the camera goes around him to his front, you can see now behind him, his friend is quite a distance back, wearing a red heavy coat. Well, then it goes back to the guy in blue in the front, and he's approaching a frozen over lake. He looks down, he kicks some snow so you can see that it's a lake. He thinks about it but decides to go across. Well, he looks back and he can see his friend now is at the beginning of the lake while he's standing in the center of the lake. And then he continues going on. Now it's showing the guy in red, and he lowers down to his side to show that he's carrying a 6-pack of bottled Corona. Now as he continues walking, suddenly it cracks and then he drops into the water. Now you can hear all these gargly sounds, and he starts punching at the underside of this ice. Eventually the friend is racing because he can't see his friend, so he knows he's underwater. He can see his friend underneath. You can also see the bright yellow Corona bottles. The friend under the water grips one of the bottles and forces his hand through the lake ice. With just his hand in his bright yellow bottle, the friend looks down and looks at his friend, help! And then he looks at the bottle and he's just like, he just grips the top of the bottle and yanks it free of his friend's hand. And then as he's walking, obviously he's gonna have to report to everybody back at the cabin that his friend was lost in the blizzard. Takes a long drink, and then there's a aerial view showing the whole area of the lake again, and there is a distant cabin approaching. There's a deep voice that says, Corona, it's colder to the cold-hearted. That was my Corona commercial. Now with all of these movies coming out and right when the Super Bowl ends, I can't help but to think that there's some nigger that's running the White House that can do whatever he wants, quite literally aiming everything they got at me personally, my daughter personally, and my girlfriends personally, as if I did something that he's going to say that I did. And it's basically the person that was in charge of making all the Asians riot in Hong Kong. Did you guys know that in Africa there's the Congo? Did you know that it's called the Democratic Republic of the Congo? It's the full name. So what year did the NFL CEO decide to become president and then rename the Congo? And then make up the United States Congress, the Democrats and the Republicans? Or did they call that because it was the Democrats and Republicans, but now it was a white president, so he went back and renamed his country, I took over the White House? And apparently, I'm the only person that he's mad at. It's just making up things as he goes.